This hangout on air is live.
Oh no.
Hello, live.
Hello, live.
Hey.
Right, y'all can watch the podcast here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll count us in. And 3, 2. Wait, hold on. Get this thing in the correct position. It doesn't like block half my face. And 3, 2. I sounded like the owl on the Tootsie Roll commercials. And 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to the Side Quest Special ThronesCast edition. Today we're going to be talking all about the Game of Thrones Season 7 finale, the dragon and the wolf. This is essentially a random battle, which we haven't done in a while. And random battles are basically taking one topic and talking about it ad infinitum?
Ad nauseum?
Ad nauseum. That's a good one. Yeah, that sounds better. Because you may get nauseous at some point in this one. Hello, I am Dolly Domovsky. That reflection that you see in my glasses is my computer screen. Joining me, the one, the only, Zach Quest.
What's up?
And the other one and only, Woot.
Wow.
The hashtagonist.
Hello.
You sound like Littlefinger. Oh, gentlemen, hello. We have the Game of Thrones finale yesterday, and we were chatting on the Twitters over the last few days, the last week or so, about getting together to chat about this show, this thing. And boy, was it a doozy of an episode. We have a lot to say, and without without slowing things down, we are going to get right into it. I do want to say, though, make sure y'all like and subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. I'm gonna say that ahead of time instead of at the end of the podcast, and then we'll do all the Twitter accounts and stuff afterwards. But I briefly want to touch on the summary, so I'm going to read a quick summary of the episode, the dragon and the wolf, and then we will jump into our thoughts about this episode and our thoughts about the season in general. So, this.
Dolly, are you sure you're recording? By the way.
Yes, it's broadcasting on YouTube. Which means I can yank that audio right off of there. So.
All right, good.
Yes, I've learned all the tips and tricks. So here is the summary. This is the 7th and final episode of this season 7 of Game of Thrones. The 67th episode overall. There's going to be 73 total, so we'll get 6 next season.
Oh, wow.
It starts off in King's Landing with everybody basically getting together for the meeting, as it's basically being called. I hate to say the good guys, but the Targaryen faction manages to bring their White Walker with them, or it's not even a White Walker. It's basically it's a White. I think it's just called a White.
Yeah, it's just a White.
Yep, they bring that with them to show to Searcy and so on, and her side, the Lannister crew, to say, hey, this northern threat is very real. Monsters do exist. See that dragon up there? Yeah, he exists. We need to band together and kind of put a pause on our petty differences and take care of this war. A little bit of back and forth. Searcy agrees, sort of, before we find out that it's all just a ploy. And meanwhile, the Targaryen faction heads north to take care of north of Winterfell, to take care of the Night King and his impending onslaught.
Pretty sure they went south first.
Oh, yes, they went south first. Sorry. You're right. Dragonstone and then head up. And actually, Dragonstone is further east, I believe. No, west.
That's not what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, no, winter was coming, and there were 6 to 8 inches of snow, probably closer to 6, as we found out on the a few episodes back. Speaking of Winterfell, we get Arya and Sansa still kind of squaring off. Littlefinger is pushing Sansa's buttons. Sansa decides to hold a meeting, get everybody together, and throw the conviction out for murder. So she calls in Sansa. Sansa's essentially surrounded, and they turn it around on Littlefinger and take care of the business there. And finally, we find that the Night King is up to. He's made it to Eastwatch, up to the wall, and he uses his brand new dragon, his new dragon mount, level 55 dragon mount, to melt a hole in the wall and let his. They initially said 100,000, but it looked like closer to 1 million of his whites and White Walkers on through, which is where the season ends. So a lot happened this episode, but it was kind of compressed into a few specific locales instead of bouncing around so much. But I want to get your initial thoughts on this episode. Then we're going to dive into some more of the specifics, some of the comments and feedback that we received, and maybe the whole season in general as well. So I want to start with Wout. What were your thoughts on this episode?
I loved the episode. Like the first 20 minutes, I couldn't stop smiling when you
really?
saw all those giant characters together for the first time on screen. That was just amazing. Like they had some very good meetups that I was kind of waiting for to see. But overall, like brilliant episode to close down the finale. Mm-hmm. It's a long wait for the next one, and they really leave you wanting more.
Yeah.
But it was well done. But we'll get into the specifics of that. But I'm glad they wrapped some storylines up that didn't really want to see those carry over to next episode. So clean start. I think we're going to head for a pretty clean start next season.
I like that. Zach, what were your thoughts of this season? Or this episode? Sorry, this episode.
I'm in the same boat. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It was fun. It was cool. Like, I got all the stuff that I wanted to get. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, the specifics of that is where things start to come into play. But, no, I loved it. I'm excited to see where it goes. But, yeah.
I'm in the same boat as the both of you fine lads. I really enjoyed it. It was a ton of fun. It was the kind of Game of Thrones episode that I guess I was expecting, and it's what I wanted. And I think I saw a lot of people were writing articles all week, the last couple of days, and said, "Hey, this is the episode you've all wanted. Everybody wanted it. It all happened." So I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was my favorite episode of this season, I think. But it still left me a little hollow. I'm going to take my glasses off because it's reflecting in the crazy. It left me feeling a little hollow inside at what could have been. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But I think when we get into the specifics of this episode, that starts to happen. I will say, let's kind of dive into some of those specifics, actually. Zach, you mentioned the interactions with some of the folks there. Oh, wow, you mentioned all these people coming together, and I totally agree. It was nice to get a lot of these plot points wrapped up. And maybe they're different than what George R. R. Martin maybe intended, but they were able to actually pull it off. And so that was great to see. Next season we will hopefully be starting with mostly a fresh slate, with still a little bit of intrigue in there. But the interactions, I think, especially in that first, like you said, that first 20 minutes, you're smiling from ear to ear. Same here. The tension that they built up in that meeting was fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Very good.
You could see the wheels turning, within Cersei's head as she's kind of viewing what's going on. She's plotting at the same time and trying to figure things out. Tyrion is, even though he's a Lannister, and he knows almost too much, and he's plotting as well, but not nearly as much as Cersei is. Jaime's just kind of dumbfounded, and I think Cersei even mentions that he's the dumbest Lannister of them all. He basically is. Jon is. I personally loved what Jon did, and you can't build the foundation of a country on lies. He wanted to make sure that they went forward truthfully and built up their reputation and their sides that way. So that first section was fantastic. I think the Hound and the Mountain was just so brilliantly played, and he even called. He's like, what did the Hound say to the Mountain? He said, "You're even uglier now than him." Right, you're even uglier now than me, so I thought that was brilliantly done. What were your thoughts about this first area? Well, let me hear your thoughts because you mentioned that you had a smile from ear to ear.
But there were just so many little things that I loved about the scene, just the whole walk-in. One of my favorite parts of the whole show was the little interaction that Brienne and the Hound had together when they were talking about Arya, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, that's Arya right there," just knowing that she's alive and well and kicking ass.
Like it was like two divorced parents talking about their kid.
Exactly. No, that was brilliant. And then Cersei like making a comment that Daenerys is late. Like, we've been here for some time now. Like, oh really? We're gonna start off petty. The only thing that was really weird to me was the whole Euron like blowout that he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he eventually got checked there, but that I could have done without that. It was just too weird. Like, oh yeah, just remind everybody that he's an asshole and where that Yara is still in his possession somewhere. That felt a little off.
But you find out why later on, why that was sort of...
and that bothers me the most because they had no idea how that conversation was going to go. So apparently there was a whole planned out that he would eventually walk out and pretend to like flip on Cersei. But like, I wonder how that conversation went. Like, okay, so if there is a zombie in the box, then you're just going to pretend you're done with this shit and then you're going to walk away. Like, there's no way that conversation took place. So that was a little odd. I wonder what his original cue was for him to walk away from that. But overall, pretty well done, and I loved the Hound stepping up to his brother, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's happening, the game ball." But
I love that.
That was about it. But that was such a good intro to the last scene. When Bronn took Pod away, like, oh, let's go for a drink, I was like, oh, this is going to go south real fast. But it turns out he's just not allowed on set with Cersei Lannister because they used to date and they hate each other now. So,
what, in real life?
In real life, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I remember that.
So that was kind of funny. They made it work well.
Zach, what did you think about the opening scene?
The opening scene is like everything I like about the show. It's like it has elements of like not knowing what's going to happen, which is what I like about the show the most. Is like unfamiliarity mixed with like your cool characters that you know who they are, but you don't know what's going to happen with the other ones. So when they got together, it's like basically like all those cool Marvel films, you know, building up like, oh, it's getting there, then it's the Avengers, like that's what that was.
The Westeros Avengers.
Yeah. It just felt so good. But it was just awesome to see them rub against each other because they're all so different. Like even Jon and the Queen of Dragons are different. Yes. And like all of them are so different, and them rubbing against each other and kind of like showing like, this is who I am. Like, you've heard of me. This is who I really am. It was a really cool moment, and I think that was the best part of the whole season was that one part.
This is this is a moment that's been building for 7 years now, or 8 years, however long the show's been.
Yeah.
And really, for those of us who have read the books, and I started reading the books after the first season, and I went through the whole thing after in between the first and second season. It's funny because I actually we interviewed George R. R. Martin. We did a podcast with him right before season 2 started. Quite literally the day I finished book 3 of the series. So, but there are folks that have read these really since the 90s, and so they're they've been in tune with these the whole time. So this is something that they've really been kind of looking forward to. But it was the Avengers moment. I think it was great to see. It was a TV moment. I mean, this show has been full of these kinds of moments, right? From the Red Wedding to Jon Snow dying to the dragons, and every season has one or two of these. I think this was this season's been full of them with the short timing, but this was one of the big ones in Game of Thrones history, maybe even TV history, just from the what it's setting up going forward. But yeah, great moment, great setting as well. They chose, I think it was set in Spain. Actually, they flew everybody out to, I believe this is a Spanish kind of a coliseum that had been broken down, but they made it the Dragon Pit, right? And I love the story of the Dragon Pit. Daenerys kind of kicking around the skulls and telling Jon how the giant dragons that they were just kind of ravaging King's Landing. So they built this big dome for them and shoved them in there, and over time they just got smaller and smaller till they were the size of dogs, and then just kind of died off, or kind of a sad end to dragons the first time around. Luckily,
that scene. Yeah, no, that scene where she handed the bone to him, I was just like, oh my gosh, like they're really playing this out, like they really want them to have sex. Like, they're like handing the bone back and forth. It's like, oh,
here's the bone. there's gonna be another one later. But yeah, it was a really good setting, good storyline to that. But so then, yeah, you talk about this Jon and Daenerys, the Jon and Dany setup, and again, this is something that people have wanted to see happen for a long time. Forever. Yeah. And they really only built it up briefly in this season, like maybe over the course of 4 episodes, I think it was, from episode 3 or onward. So there wasn't a lot of time for this stuff to breathe and to happen. You see it happen quite differently in other seasons where they build up these relationships. But it almost worked. I mean, it felt forced, kind of leading into last episode, I guess you could say. But it pays off in the end here, I guess, until we find out all the other magical moments. But yeah, and there were other great things. Tyrion meeting with Searcy, right? That was
such a good scene.
Such a good scene. That was maybe Dinklage's best scene in years in the show. And you kind of feel for him, because here she is, Searcy, the queen, the evil queen. Everybody's dressed in black now, by the way. I have no idea. Everybody dressed in black armor with scales.
We're all in black too.
And we're all in black too, yeah. But Searcy is kind of grilling him on how he essentially wiped out the Lannister line. But he keeps reiterating, there's that human side of him where he says, "Listen, yeah, I didn't kill your son. I did kill father, though. I'll take for the onus for that. But I loved those kids. If there was anything I could do, I would have prevented them dying." And you could tell, I mean, an uncle, I don't know if you guys are uncles or not, but if, it's something like, I love my brother's kids. They're, there's that family bond, especially when it comes to kids, to children, is very important to Tyrion, especially. And so obviously, because he's probably never going to have his own, just kind of, I think he kind of sees where his days are numbered as well. So he had a strong tie to that, and he legitimately felt bad for those kids dying, and I felt bad for him, kind of watching him go through that. So I think Searcy did and didn't know quite how to react to him, and then of course when she revealed that maybe she's pregnant, she was basically playing him the whole time. She wanted him to get to that point where she she kind of outs herself as being pregnant-ish. I have theories on that, but we'll see. And that flips it. That flips it for him. So I think there's something else there is happening now. She got out of him why and what was happening in his, and she almost wanted to have him feel for those kids again that ended up dying because of his actions, and then reveal, hey, by the way, I'm pregnant. There's another one. So you don't want that to happen again now, do you? But she says it so subtly without doing anything except for some hand motions, and the scene ends. It closes on him, realizing that. So I thought that was a very great scene, powerful scene. It's the kind of scene that I always loved in Game of Thrones, and I was glad that they finally were able to bring that back. And this whole first segment of the show was great for that.
Yeah. There's some shady shit going on there after that scene ended, because him noticing that she is pregnant or not would not have swayed her at all. Right. I want to know what happened after that conversation.
And I love that they cut it off at that point. I love that they cut it off at that point.
because there must be something going on.
And it ties into him later on, right? His weird creepiness.
Yeah, so that's gonna be. I hope they don't linger on it too long because we got other shit to do in season 8. But it's gonna be interesting.
Anything else from this first area before we move on to the next section? Okay, so Dragonstone was kind of the next thing that I wanted to really briefly talk about. This was the whole Theon aspect. After was it Euron leaves and says, "I'm taking my army back to the Iron Isles, right, to Pike." Theon says, "Hey, I'm going to chase after him. I'm going to rescue my sister. I know she's alive." And he tells Jon, and it's actually a really good moment. That interaction between Jon and Theon, I think that Jon was actually able to bring him back up, and him telling Theon, "Listen, he may not have been your blood father, but he was still your father. He raised you. You are one of our brothers." And so it sort of re-energized Theon, and he went out and managed to beat the crap out of the other dude, or actually get the crap beat out of him. And then beat the crap out of him and kind of take on the take his way to Pike. But guess what? No one's going to be at Pike.
Yeah,
which I thought was kind of a weird plot hole.
Yeah.
But I thought that was another really good scene. One of Alfie Allen's best scenes in a couple years at least. I think so.
But he kills it every time.
Yes,
he's on screen, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That dude is amazing. Yeah,
he is. He's got so much more that's going to happen to him, from a career standpoint after the show. That he's, you really feel for him because he has had this incredible arc where he was just kind of this, a slacker dude bro at the beginning, and then he got he got caught up in his family, his dad and his family kind of pushing him to rebel and try to win, take back Winterfell and do their own thing. And then to getting caught by the Boltons and being reduced to nothing. So essentially going from being a squire to being next in line for the king of the salt throne or saltstone, into being nothing, to being a smelly reek, a dog, and now to slowly work his way back up. And Jon accepting that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Zach, I'm not sure if you had anything on that scene.
So I liked the Jon and Theon scene a lot, but I feel like the character progression after that was way too fast. Like, he finally got brought out of like his mindset being like broken to being like, you know what? I'm gonna try and beat this dude up. Like, it just felt so off to me. Yeah, that was probably my least favorite part of the whole episode, I think, because it was just rushed, which is like a lot of this season, which is like rushed. But I don't know.
You don't think him getting kicked in the nuts was?
I thought that was funny, but I was just like, I'd rather it paid off later, like instead of, like, because it is a plot hole. It's like he's gonna go to Pike. There's gonna be nothing there, like. I think they just rushed into it way too fast. But
I mean, his character arc, there really wasn't anything for him to do at the moment, I think. So sending him out to Pike was...
It makes sense. Like, I would have rather him been kind of like a lackey, I guess, with those people, and then like risen up kind of. But there's not enough time to do that in the next 6-7 episodes, so... Sure. It's kind of just like, let's rush into it.
Sure.
Yeah, but I guess they kind of forced his hand too, because their plan was to just find an island and just pillage and loot and take the wives. And he's like, yeah, no, we're not going to do it anymore. And then they kick his ass. So I think he kind of got forced into that situation. Of course, he wins. But they have to put him somewhere. But I'm very curious what his role is going to be in the next season, because like if we're gonna watch Euron sail back and forth, it's gonna be boring as hell in the 6 episodes we have left. Right. So like something has to happen there.
Well, don't worry.
I just hope
do the Westeros space time continuum. You're gonna be there and back in like 2 hours.
He's gonna fly away.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I think he's gonna live. Like at first, I was like, okay, he can now just die off because his arc's complete. But this dude just needs to like do nothing for the rest of his life, and maybe like help his sister back in power. But if he would die now at this point, like then why would we have kept him along for like so long?
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see. Like it would be boring if he would die like in a blaze of glory. I think he should just like fizzle out a little bit, fitting his character.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they would have killed him off whenever the boats got invaded, like in episode 2. Like I think that would have fit.
Yeah.
But like now, like I don't, like we're saying, we don't know where his arc's gonna go. Like, is he gonna go with these dudes and like steal a bunch of boats and like fight his uncle? Like, what is he gonna do?
Is he gonna become heroic? You know, a heroic pirate and do that? Or
I don't know.
I actually kind of like not knowing. You know, you have this character arc, this character that's hanging by a thread right now. I don't know what he's gonna do. I like it. I'm actually interested to see where it goes, because you know of everything else. You know what's going to happen with John. You know what's going to happen with Davos. You know what's going to happen with all these folks. And Theon was just kind of sitting out there, and his sister was floating out there, and you had was it Elia Sand or Alaria? I forget her name. She's out, still alive with her probably decaying daughter in the bowels of one of the Euron ships. So that's still out there. So Theon could have a really interesting arc here if he manages to find out that they're not going to, they're not going to Pike. They're actually heading out to get the Golden Army or the Golden Company. So it could be really cool.
Could be, yeah. I hope he gets to save Bran in the end, just like season 1. You know, where
that would be great. Right. Yeah,
like shoots a dragon glass arrow right through a White Walker. That would be pretty sweet.
So speaking of Bran, right before we get to Bran, we're going to talk about Winterfell, because that's where Bran is stationed, and he does play a big role in this next part. We've had this Sansa Arya build up over this season, especially the last couple episodes, where we really felt that I'm getting a ton of people replying with comments right now. Don't worry, everybody, we'll get you comments. We'll get your stuff on the screen. You've had this buildup of Sansa and Arya kind of not trusting each other, to the point where it was very obvious that, I mean, from our standpoint, we knew Littlefinger was playing her, and I think it took a while for Sansa to really kind of realize that, and then when she finally did, that Littlefinger was playing her, I think that's when she got Arya involved, and they took care of business. And that was a great scene. Although I'm a little bummed in how it went down, because I would have loved to see, I think because of how it relates to Arya's arc. If Arya's whole arc of training to be a faceless, one of the faceless men, and to be an assassin, is to kill Littlefinger like while he's kneeled in broad daylight, that goes kind of against everything that we got built up for her. Maybe they wasted it with the phrase last season, but it was was it the beginning of this season or last season? I'm not 100% sure. But I feel that it could have been handled better. I did love that she killed Littlefinger. I love that I love his begging. His fake crying when he dropped, "Oh, Sansa, let me speak, let me defend." It was fantastic, because he knew his time was done, so he turned into this blubbering little baby. It was great. It was a wonderful scene.
Yeah, that scene was very, very good. And that's one of the things I'm really happy they tied up, because if that would have carried over, oh man, that would have ruined me, because you really needed that payoff, I think. But they really force you this season to assume that a lot of stuff is happening off screen. Like there must have been conversations between Sansa and Bran and Arya and all those things. And that's, I think, the limit of TV, that we can't hear their thoughts, so they can't show everything. Otherwise, it would have ruined the moment. But a little bit long, that build up, I think, 3-4 episodes. They could have stick that in 2 episodes ago, maybe one. But still, it worked. That scene was just amazing.
It was great.
I love that scene.
Yeah, so do I. With Bran repeating.
I think they're gonna use Arya in a different way because now we have the definite split between the south and the north, basically. And Arya is gonna be way more valuable taking the shit out of the south and go fight at the front line. So I think there's still. I think she will eventually go for Cersei.
You think so? You don't think it's gonna be Jaime?
Yeah, well, we'll get to Jaime's arc later, I guess.
Yeah.
But you never know. You never know. Lots of speculation there.
Yeah. All right, Zach, any thoughts on this scene?
Pretty much what you guys have said, but my favorite part was when Sansa said, "I know I'm not the smartest." That was my favorite part because it was just like, finally, like she said it, like she realizes that she's not bright. And yeah, that was probably my favorite part. The Peter dying thing, I kind of expected that for forever.
Yeah,
so
I think a lot of us did. Yeah.
Whatever, but yeah, Arya, I think it'd be cool if she went to kill Jaime because Jaime's having this like change of heart thing. And if he like changes and then she kills him, it'd be a pretty tragic death. And I think it would be a good closer for him because he's been an asshole. And kind of like he's kind of chosen to change a little too late in his life. So I think that would be cool. But
there's you're leading out this thing that's really good here. There's almost too many good guys now.
Yeah, like, there's like one bad guy, the Night King, and Cersei, I guess, and there's the good guys. There's really not a split anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Euron, he's a bad guy, but he's not an ass. I mean, he's an ass. He's not.
He's a tool.
The tool. Yeah. You got the, Qyburn, who's just Qyburn, but yeah, it's really there's not enough bad guys now. So with 6 episodes, I think you do want to see some tragedy with these characters because they're not all gonna survive this last season.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope. Same here. I hope that hope things get wiped out. I have theories of how things are going to go down, and we get to that here towards the end here. So yeah, great episode. They used Stoner Bran very well in this scene, and then later on when Sam appears, I thought he was fantastic. Sam, for whatever reason, they've made Sam the avatar for all the fans and all the watchers of the show because he walks in on Bran, and at the same time that Jon and Daenerys start boning.
So good. That was so awesome.
He walks in just like he got into like your college buddy's dorm room. He's like, hey, and he kind of peeks in, Bran. Oh, hey, Sam. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Well, I'm the three-eyed raven now. He's like, oh, I don't know what that means, which is like the most perfect thing for anybody who's new to the show to say. And then that whole scene played out well. I actually didn't see the Aegon Targaryens. I thought he was just going to be a new, like a Jon Targaryen or a different Targaryen name. I didn't realize that was going to be Aegon Targaryen. But that's the big. We knew Jon was a Targaryen. We knew he was half Stark, half Targaryen, not Ned's son. We've known that for a couple of seasons now, essentially. But I think them two coming together and kind of the two pieces finally coming. It's good. I watched the post show. Kind of the special making of and Weiss and Debbie, they're really interested to see how the ramifications are once Jon and Dany find out that they're essentially related, and how Jon's going to react to this is something that, because to him there is so much honor in Jon, and this is not up his alley, So when he finds out, things are going to be kind of interesting there. So
yeah,
Zach, you you're about to say something.
There's a lot of things coming together in that scene.
Yeah.
Lots.
Literally, yeah. But I thought that was handled well. I think if the only problem is if this is all we're seeing of Bran is just the Westerospedia, it's kind of a letdown a little bit. I think he's had a couple interesting uses. But just to build up, go all the way beyond the wall, go to find the children of the forest, find the tree, and become the three-eyed raven, and then just be kind of the warning signs. I mean, he essentially all he says is, "Hey, the Night King's coming." Well, everybody knows that already. They're already preparing for it. Yeah. They already know it's Dragonstone. They already know, So, it's he's been kind of. I think his story needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. Maybe with this. Yeah. This next season will happen.
Hopefully,
I want him.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I want him to meet Jaime.
Yeah. Oh,
because that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
and you know they're all coming together in Winterfell. That's the next big stop. So, was it you, Zach, that was saying that they're going to be heading out past, or no? Somebody who tweeted at me that said they may not. The Night King may not even go to Winterfell. He may kind of go down along the coast and raise the dead of all the towns and villages that are along the way.
I mean, he's smart enough. I think he'd probably end up doing it.
He's an excellent javelin thrower. I mean, he could.
He's magic. Like he's real magic.
I did say just to quickly backtrack to the previous episode. He like lined up for the shot. I mean, he put his arm out and he squared away and he threw the javelin. Which I thought, okay, that's kind of funny because if he's magic, he wouldn't need to do that. He could just pick this javelin up and throw it. But he squared up, he aimed, and he's got good form.
Yeah,
still a moving target. Then.
He's still a moving target. Yeah. And then we get to the actual Night King and the dragon. We've wanted to see what this ice dragon or this undead dragon will do. And blue flames. We get blue flames, which as we know, are hotter than red flames.
There you go.
Blue and white flames are hotter than red flames. And so he was able to melt he was riding this dragon, melts the wall, and lets in a fantastic scene, right? This is the wall that we've seen since the very beginning of the show. There seems like there's been a scene there almost every episode, more than any other locations. And it came just crashing down. They blitzed a huge hole in it, and here they come. Here come the potentially 1 million plus undead marching across. I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah, when they showed the wall from that angle, and I was like, "Ooh, that looks mighty skinny at the Eastwatch over there."
It was really cool. Yeah, it's a good point because you see it kind of pan from the north to beyond the wall, and it's actually not a very thick wall.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing about the whole wall coming down is when Jon leaves and he hands the wall to Dolores Ed, and he says something like, "Don't let it come down when I'm gone." And of course
it comes down.
Poor guy.
Which we didn't see him. We didn't see Ed in the last few episodes. We've only seen him at the very beginning of the season, I think, right? And that was essentially it. Or no, we saw him
at all.
No, we did. We saw when Bran came across, right? Or no?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I forgot that this was the season.
But yeah, very interesting. He's one of my favorite characters, and he's very underutilized. And one of John's. Although he's not in Eastwatch, right? He's at the.
Yeah, he's at Castle Black.
The Castle Black. So
yeah,
nothing's happening here.
That's.
So very, very cool scene. Seeing that dragon melt that wall was great. So.
Yeah. That's a proper cliffhanger right there.
Yes. They've always kind of ended it with the Night King in a way, but I think this was the first year out of like the last 3 years since they did it. This year, you knew that shit's gonna go down now because they're in Westeros proper.
Yeah.
The wall.
Yeah, and only 6 episodes left.
I know. So
not enough.
Not enough. So let's kind of talk about this whole season and that. And maybe how it relates to the whole show. Then we'll get into some of the comments from people. Thoughts on this whole season? I want to, Zach. I want to get your thoughts first. I think we're gonna have a lot of the same things to say. By the way.
Yeah, I think it was a good season. Like it wasn't the best. It's just a lot of it felt rushed, and I think it's because there wasn't a 10-episode series. I think if there's 10 episodes. It would have been a lot better. It might have even been the best season.
So if at the same time, I think, they're 10 episodes this season and 10 next season would have been 20. So they're down 7 episodes. Do you think they could have fit all of this into 7 episodes or maybe an extra season beyond that?
I don't know. I think that a 10-episode season for a nice build-up would have been really good. And then having 6 episodes just be like a big battle over like the episodes. I think the build-up is needed, and I think they rushed it like pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, I think if it would have been 2 full seasons, you're going to get the side questing effect where everybody's just off doing storylines while everybody also knows that, okay, it's happening. Like they've been coming and they would just be stalling that a little bit. Like it would take the urgency out. Maybe like do really have to. We would have seen Euron going back and forth. We would have had travel time on the road. All while knowing that shit's going to go down.
But at the same time, the one thing we didn't get with this shortened season was some of that character building. Yeah, we may have only had if the Arya Sansa arc was 3 episodes long again, that may have been fine. I think that would have fit well within a 10-episode season. I think some of the travel times would have been a little better. I actually really enjoyed seeing early on in this season where the Hound meets up with the Beric and the crew, and they stop at that inn, right? That was
awesome.
That was awesome, and that was him tying up a kind of personal loose end. And I thought that was great, that scene, and he felt bad for how they died. He knew it was basically because of him. But that scene, we may not have fully had. I'm glad they were able to squeak it in, in this 7-episode season. I think that's definitely a 10-episode season type of story, type of plot. But I wanted to see more of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead. Yeah.
And also, I guess since they made the episodes longer, it kind of makes up for it. But I still think that maybe an 8-episode season would have been better, even 8 or 9, but 10 maybe not. But I think an episode extra would have helped a lot.
Wow,
don't get me wrong, the more the better. I would have loved a double 10 for sure. But I can kind of see how they want to pace it up. But it's just how they spent their time that was a little odd to me. The first 2 episodes, a lot of Old Town there, for no real payoff other than him stealing a bunch of books.
Yeah.
Unless that comes back in season 8 again. If he would have convinced the Maesters, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, payoff. But that had 0 payoff at all.
The only payoff was
John
get Dragon Glass, which everybody already knew that. John already basically knew Dragon Glass, and John being Targaryen. If those are the 2 little things,
pissed.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be pissed.
Although Sam becoming the Maester of somewhere potentially, or maybe he takes over House Tarly. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I guess he had to fix Jorah as well.
Yeah.
That was kind of a big deal. Although, what has he done?
Right. Exactly.
He was how do you get rid of Stone's skin? Oh, you just pull it off.
Cut it off. Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody figured this out yet.
There was a lot of that this season where they took the shortest route possible. There was something in one of the books that in that book that Sam was reading about the about the grayscale that mentioned Dragon Glass, right? I think it was written in there, and one of the theories was to get rid of grayscale, you have to use Dragon Glass, you have to make a concoction of Dragon Glass or something. Maybe that was the case, but they didn't mention it at all. But I think it was in the text in that book that he was reading.
Yeah. And they specifically showed Arya's dagger in there.
Yes.
Why?
Right. And so there are a lot of these things that, again, we don't see. I think you mentioned it perfectly well. Is there are a lot of these conversations and stories that are taking place in between scenes, and we're not seeing them, but they almost help. I mean, they would help fill in some of this, right?
It could have been there easily.
Could have been there. So I want to ask you guys a question. Why do you think that they sped up this season to 7 episodes instead of 10? Well, I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I'm not sure what the viewership was like. So maybe they just
unbelievable. This year they broke all the records. This year,
yeah, this year they broke all the records. I know. I think with the extended time that it takes to put it out, it might have been just too much. I think they might have bit off more than they could chew. Otherwise, it would have been 2018 this year, and then 2020, and then you get the George R. R. Martin effect where you have to wait for the payoff for too long. I know, could be, or maybe they just want to do something else after this.
What's interesting is what this does for me. I guess now it makes the books way more interesting because again, right. So the first 5 or so seasons of the show followed the first 4 seasons followed the books pretty closely, and then they started to diverge a little bit. But I think that now the books have whole new meaning because there's characters that are in the books that never made it to the show, like John Cunnington, the fake, exactly, the fake Aegon that's floating around. So I think there's a lot that that's happening in the books that is really interesting. And I think now there actually is, for those of us that are fans of Game of Thrones beyond just a TV show, the story kind of continues. There's a part of me that says I am glad they're wrapping everything up so quickly and doing the whole popcorn thing. I think that was explained really well. The first few seasons were like fine steak in a dinner theater, and now it's like popcorn at in a summer Marvel movie.
Yeah.
With the show. So maybe that is maybe the advantage now is it makes the books that much more relevant.
Yeah, and I think they had to just like wrap it up because there's no source material, and like I'm not a super big fan of the latest source material. Like if you see how that dropped in intensity and general interestingness, so they didn't have much to work with. Like the book 5 ends with Jon dying and Dany's having diarrhea in a field somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's the end. Seeing what we got in the 2 years after that, hey man, I'll take it.
It's going to be an interesting ride with the books, and we only have 6 episodes left, and there's still quite a bit to tie up. Do you guys want to give a couple predictions for what's going to happen going forward?
Ooh, good. I'll go last or second, whatever you want.
You have your sheet there.
I got like notes and everything. Yeah.
Well, I'll go with mine. I know Zach had some good ones too. Zach was sending me stuff in our Discord channel. So I actually think that there will not be a king or queen of Westeros. I think that whoever is the I guess quote unquote the winner, I believe Cersei will die. I think the Lannisters will. I actually do think the Lannister line will perish. But I think that whether it's Dany or Dany's baby, I think that whoever is in charge is going to say, you know what, people need to have the right to, represent themselves. And I think we're almost going to get a strange democracy of nations, right? With all these countries, all these houses. I also think that Jon's going to die. I think that him giving his seed to Dany and sprouting a new Targaryen Stark quarter breed, whatever that would be. I think that leads into him dying and serving his purpose. He's the prince that was promised. He is,
he's Jesus.
He's the Jesus of the show, really.
Yeah.
I think he's going to die maybe with the Night King in some kind of cross kill or something, sacrifice himself to destroy the Night King. I just hope it doesn't end up being a cheesy one-on-one fight between him and the Night King, and the rest of the walkers is kind of standing around waiting to see what happens. That would just be the worst thing. I think the dragons will both die. I don't think there's going to be any dragons left. Except for maybe like a post-credit scene at the very end where we see another egg floating out there somewhere. I actually love the fact. See, I last couple seasons and this season especially, I've become a big fan of Sansa. I think I've totally cooled on Arya. I think she's a wasted opportunity. I don't like how she's going about her character this season. But Sansa has gone through so much shit. I think her character, being the Lady of Winterfell, the Queen of the North, essentially, I think she knows what honor is. She knows how to play the game. She knows where the limits are. She proved it by taking out Littlefinger. I think she is the rightful. Well, now we know she's the rightful heir to Winterfell. So I love her arc. I think that's fantastic. And so, yeah, I'm kind of seeing all that happen. I think the Night King is done. I think they're going to defeat him here, and it'll be over with. I don't know if Bran is the Night King or not. I know there's that theory floating around, but I think Bran will. Survive, but I think he'll also head back to the weirwood tree and bury himself inside there. Rest in peace, Hodor. That's basically my prediction for these final 6 episodes next season. What about you guys? How about you, Zach? You tell me yours, and we'll go to WoW. We'll end with WoW.
Okay. Mine aren't that crazy. Like, I honestly have no expectations going into this next part, so I'm up for anything.
Sure,
honestly.
yeah, same here.
So, like, my only thing is I just want Bran to be revealed. That's like my only thing is I just want Bran to be revealed to be something more than he actually is. Like either as the Night King or as something else. Because like he's had influence into the past before. Like we've seen it twice.
Yep.
So like I want to see what he has actually influenced, if anything else besides those two things. I think it'd be a waste if it was just those two things. There has to be something else. That's honestly like my only theory. Like, I mean, besides that, I think that it's going to end in like a stalemate. I want everyone to go back to just everything being normal again. Like, okay, whatever. Like, I kind of want it to be depressing and sad, but that's just me.
Sure.
Like,
No, I think that would be great for what Game of Thrones is. You know, you're.
Yeah, like I think John's gonna die, but I think like I just hope they fight and then like Jon dies and the Night King and Cersei and whoever else are like, yeah, this wasn't worth it. Like, can we just like go back to like staying away from each other? Like, yeah, sure. But that's all I got.
What about you? Wow. Let's hear your thoughts.
So I think that the White Walkers, we haven't heard about their purpose at all yet. They're just a mindless attack army right now. There has to be something about that, because what if they win? Are they gonna hang out until like for what? Like there's no
until winter's over.
Zero stakes. This guy. Yeah. So I think they're a bit of the Reapers are as in Mass Effect. So I think they're there to reset the timeline, basically.
Interesting.
So what I think is that Jon is actually gonna be the new Night King, because there has to be that balance at all times. So I think they're the reset button. I think Daenerys is gonna die.
You think she's gonna die? Okay.
Yeah, because I think it's in season 2 or season 3 where she has the vision where she goes into the tent, and then Khal Drogo is there with her son. I think that's her end game. Like she's gonna like give it all up in the end and does the whole dance to the dragons, and then she's just gonna. That's where her story is gonna end. Like she's gonna die, pass away, and then she get to be with Khal Drogo again, because that's the whole prophecy that he had. Like you'll see him again when all this shit happens. So I think that's the end of her. But I think it's gonna start. It has to start with a giant massacre, because there's still so many useless characters around. Like what is Varys gonna do? Like he's completely useless. Qyburn, all those guys.
Clegane Bowl still has to take place.
Clegane Bowl still has to happen, because
we had the pre-show for Clegane Bowl. Now we're Listen, that would be a pay-per-view on its own.
Oh man, that's one I would not stream. I would like actually pay for it. But there's this like I want to see purpose of the whole, and that's that's going to be my one big prediction, that they're the reset button to start a new Age of Heroes every time. The one thing is the Golden Company. I think it's going to be led by Dario. That's a great. Yeah. Okay, I like that. That's a good prediction. That will be, and either he's going to flip flop for her, or he has something else in mind. I don't know. But so much in 6 episodes. I know. I'm very curious to see where Sansa's going, because what is her role going to be other than like providing for the survivors?
I'm going to protect my sister.
Exactly. Arya's probably going to kill Qyburn. That's another one.
I could see that. I could see her killing Qyburn.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to call her Deus Ex Nymeria next season, because something's got to happen with them wolves, man.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing, because when they were looking out over that, the field, right? They're standing on top of Winterfell. I thought this would be a great moment to see the wolf pack show up. Yeah.
So plenty of opportunities there, but my years ago, my biggest theory is that Bran pushes himself out of the window the way he fucks with Hodor. That he
does it with
because they can only win if he becomes a three-eyed raven. So he goes back into Jaime and pushes himself out of the window, or tells himself to go. Whatever. That's like far-fetched Reddit theory crap I'm getting into there. But that would be a nice little payoff, because then I'm gonna find my old post and reboot it and reap all the karma.
Love it. Love it. I'll make sure I plus one that karma for you. The great stuff. I mean, there are only 6 episodes. There is a lot that they can do, and a lot that they probably will do in these 6 episodes. And I know a lot of people are bummed that there's only 6 left, that they've cut them down considerably. There's 7 less episodes than there could have been.
Money issues,
and it has run on long. The characters are now getting old. Contracts are starting to wear out. I think contracts really only did have them going through the 8th season when they were renewed contracts recently. And so they needed to make sure that they got everybody kind of covered. I mean, everybody's contracts were blowing up. You look at Maisie Williams and the actress who plays Sansa Stark. I mean, they're in movies.
Sophie.
Exactly. There you go. They're in movies now. They're in X-Men. They're in Doctor Who. You have Kit Harington, who's like a big star. You have Lena Headey. I mean, they've all become these pretty massive stars. A lot of them were stars going in, but they're even bigger now. So keeping them under contract is more and more difficult. So I think it probably had to do a lot with money.
It's also
so
those
weird,
dragons.
Yeah, those dragons. Yeah. Growing those dragons took a lot of Jurassic Park level maintenance.
But it's gonna end. Like that alone is just such a weird thing. Like after 8 years, and you don't see these kind of shows or like phenomenons that often. I think like the Harry Potter books was one, and this is going to be a show people are going to be talking about like 10, 20 years from now.
Yep. It's Breaking Bad. It's Lost. It's Harry Potter. It's Game of Thrones. Yeah, I agree. And there are currently 5 spin-offs in development. Of those, you'll probably get 1, maybe 2, in a couple of unique ways. But they're developing 5 very different stories right now. I'm hoping the Doom of Valyria, because that makes things really interesting over in Essos, which we don't get to see all that often. There's spin-offs. Those won't come until at least a couple of years after the finale. So don't expect like the finale. For all intents and purposes, what we're hearing is that it won't show up until late 2018 or early 2019. So probably, I'm guessing it's going to be April 2019 that we see the next season, the final season of Game of Thrones. But that's my prediction. And then you'll get 2 years after that will be whatever the spinoff they choose will be a couple years after that. They're all prequels, I believe they said. But
I still not care about the prequels.
Yeah.
It's the characters, you kind of get attached to.
I think, there are going to be great characters in these prequels too. I like the Duncan Egg books. I've been a fan of that series. It's pretty cool. But there's a whole history that they can write.
It can't be Frasier, but it could be Joey.
And think of it this way. I mean, you look at Better Call Saul, which I think at this point I like it more than Breaking Bad. I think it's a better show now. But for whatever, for all intents and purposes, there's still a whole season left that they need to tell, and they're all going to be feature length. They said, I think that was really revealed. So you're looking at an hour and a half long each one, and each one will be an event. Each one will be an event. I want to get to any more thoughts from us, because I want to get to some of the comments real quick.
I just want to see young Rob with the hammer.
Yeah. There you go, Gendry. Gendry's going to be the king of. He's going to handle King's Landing. See, there you go.
Yeah. Well, like real quick, like Gendry is a super important character right now.
Yeah, he is.
He is the only person who can restart the House Baratheon.
Yeah.
If he can minimize, like that whole line is gone. So hopefully he'll do something more. Mm-hmm. But I also feel robbed that we got robbed of a good scene between Jon and Daenerys. They went straight to the boning.
Yeah,
that could have been handled better. I think it was kind of like, like really.
It didn't happen again. They cut a lot of corners this season. Yeah. They cut a lot of. There's so many corners. They turned it into a circle. I mean, they cut to get to where they needed to go. They cut a lot out, but for whatever reason. So let me read some of these comments. Okay, here's the first one. Jess Nestro. If you've hopped on side questing, you've taken a look at her amazing face paint that she put together. She did the whole makeup of the Night King White Walker. Definitely take a look at it. Do a search on the site, sidequesting.com, its website. She writes, bring up how awkward Tyrion was when Dany and Jon were doing it.
I was just about to say that.
Like, why? She says, maybe he deep down doesn't want Dany to have a successor now that he knows his sister is pregnant and doesn't want to lose the Lannister name. That's an interesting thought, and that's something that actually crossed my mind a little bit as well. Is the whole Lannister name is still kind of sticking with him, and that scene was he changed his feelings right away when he found out that she was they left that little mini cliffhanger. So
Yeah, I think it was very weird, and I think I had to think about it for a while. Because I don't think he cares about John and Danny doing it in the cabin, because they had a very specific conversation about like a follow to the throne, like inheritance, and she was very clear to him that she can't have kids. So I think he made a deal with Cersei in the scene that we didn't see.
Yes, I think
About who would follow her on the throne. Maybe she's like, well, we'll try to get your kid on the throne if you like help us out. I don't know, but there's something's
there.
something weird. Like,
you don't leave Tyrion hanging out there for no reason. I mean, there was something that was definitely there.
Yeah.
John Keogh, one of my compadres on SQW, that's our WWE podcast, our wrestling podcast, says, he says, Theon, he says, my wife thinks he gets the horn from his uncle and starts calling Krakens and shit to help win the war. That would be pretty badass. That'd be pretty badass.
But I don't think the horn has shown up in the TV show yet.
No, it hasn't. It's been in the books, mentioned in the books. Yeah. And he also says, yes, blue flames are hotter than red flames if Mario Kart Double Dash has taught us. That is correct. Few more notes here. I'm going to run through. Let's see. Mary Robinson says her Game of Thrones fantasy team is still intact. Enjoyed it. Pretty awesome episode. So many questions. Spoilers, where is Jaime going? Well, I believe he's heading up north. Switching sides, is Dany going to be pregnant with Jon Jr.? How are they going to kill the Ice Dragon? That's what we briefly touched on the Ice Dragon. Yeah. I can't wait to see Dragon versus Dragon. That's
going to be badass.
Freaking awesome. Freaking awesome.
So, about Jaime, and maybe I just saw this wrong, but he drove up, and then he put his glove on, and he noticed the snow. But he's traveling left to right on that scene. And then the second scene, they made it look like he's going back. Because all of a sudden he's traveling right to left on your screen, which usually indicates kind of where you come from, where you're going.
Yeah.
So it could be that he's going back to King's Landing because he's like, I got to stop Cersei from doing all this shit. And then maybe he'll get to go. But it was kind of odd, but I'm not sure if I just saw that wrong, but it kind of felt like he was going back and forth in that scene.
So
I wonder what you guys saw.
Well, I that is a good point. I still think he's heading up north, but that brings up a point where part of me still doesn't think that Searcy is pregnant.
Yeah,
I think that she's playing a long game there. I think that's why she didn't kill Jaime, because she still needs. She wants a pure Lannister line and doesn't want Jaime to. If Jaime died, then she would still have the baby technically, right? So there would be a Lannister in her womb. But letting Jaime go, I think that was almost a strained. Maybe it was an admission that she's actually not pregnant, because she played Tyrion really well by putting her hand on her stomach and did the whole, don't mind me, Jeff. Just put my hand here because this is what I like to do. Oh yeah, you're right. I am pregnant. I think there's something kind of awkward there as well. So she may be playing. My thoughts, and then a couple folks have brought this up as well, but I think she's playing a longer game than she lets on.
I think the scene with Jaime like going back and forth, I think it's not him going back. I think it's him seeing the snow and being like, "I gotta go now."
That's what I think.
It could be.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that episode.
Yes.
Anyway,
I'll be watching this several times. She said also it's a perfect ending to the. Oh, I'm sorry. We go on to she says fantastic end of the season. Can't wait a year plus for the next. Tony says, Tony Samosky says the question that remains is how will Dany react when she finds out Jon is the true ruler of the Iron Throne, and will Jon react? How will he react when he finds out he got it on with his aunt? Yes, that's the one thing. A lot of people don't realize that she is his aunt. She's not his sister. She's not his cousin. She's his aunt. So John boned his aunt, his half aunt.
Yeah, I don't get the whole heir to the throne thing, because once you get it by conquest, doesn't it like reset the line?
Well, the way they brought it up very early in the series of the line of succession, and Rhaegar's kids would have always been ahead of Dany and Viserys, or just because of. Rhaegar was the firstborn of Mad King Aerys, and so his kids would naturally be in line next. And so I think because he's not a Sand because he is a Targaryen. Because they got married. The annulment that makes him a legitimate heir and first in line to the throne.
Yeah, but Robert Baratheon kicks the whole Targaryens out. Like, can you reset it backwards after? Like, actually,
yeah.
Like, it's such a weird
thing. I mean, that's true because the Lannisters are kings right now. They've abandoned all Baratheonism. Yeah. But a great question. Great question.
Yeah. So no, hold on. I was going to say something. I forgot. What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about Danny and John. I think the next season, if they like make them kind of fall out and like fight each other, I think that would be really nice because things have been way too sweet for the past couple of seasons. Same with Tyrion. Like if he's like betraying her, that would also be a really cool character thing for him too. Because like, even though I like him being a good guy, he's always been kind of a good guy. I kind of want to see him do his own thing, like be like, this is me. I'm going to choose my future. So I think having these characters that we've liked kind of turn on each other would be like super cool.
But you only have 6 episodes to work through this. That's the only bad part. That's the kind of thing that you could flush out in a season or season and a half.
I know. I hate it.
Yeah. Betty says, amazing wrap up of what felt like a rush season. Interesting to see all of the major players in the Dragon's Pit. The tension between them was impressive. Loved how each queen had their own moment, and Jon stayed true to who he is. And she loved the Hound in the Mountain, and it's going to be a hell of a battle in season 8. I think we cannot wait. Just as the Night King on the Dragon was a strange sight, the bluish-whitish fire, he will definitely be a force to mess with. She also mentions that she secretly hoped there was an ice dragon in the wall, and that's a rumor that
it's been there for a while.
It's been there for a while in the books more than the show. That there is a ice dragon essentially frozen in the wall. That's like the ultimate. Essentially, it would be the ultimate dragon. But that's one of the rumors. Apparently, no, not anymore. Can't throw too many things in the mix.
There's a lot of wall left, though.
That's true. There's a lot of wall left. That wall can help. Barb Morrissey says she's wanted Littlefinger dead for a while. Almost thought Arya was going to get it, and that Sansa fed into his shit. He's the ultimate nice guy, and it backfired him, which is great. Yeah. He plays every side so well. She says she's happy that Jaime called Cersei's bluff and walked away. She is what everyone calls her. She's dangerous and crazy. And then Elena says, clearly a spoiler alert, but I just thinking about Jon finding out he is really Aegon Targaryen, I think he'll freak out that he got it on with his aunt. A good image by my friend Greg. He says, can't get kicked in the balls if you don't have balls, in reference to Theon. A couple more here. Let's see here. Nick says, confirms my theory that Jaime will be the one to kill Cersei. Will the remaining 2 live dragons kill the Ice Dragon, or will it be destroyed by someone killing the Night King? That's a great point. That's a really good point. We know the dragons are going to face off against each other, but will they die when the Night King dies instead? That's interesting.
I think it might be that the Night King's like a hive mind, like where he's like the one controlling all of them. Because whenever they're fighting that one. Whenever they were across the wall, they killed the main one, the main White Walker. Then all of them like fell over. Yeah. So that
dust. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like the little mini cells within the Walker crew. Anthony says, could Bran be the Night King and is on the mission to kill Jon or Jon and Dany's future baby because of the heir to the throne? That's one thing that a lot of people thought to the Night King rumor, the Bran and Night King rumor, and there were so many photoshops that popped up over the last couple of weeks with the fake. You forwarded one over to me, Zach, with people were like photoshopping like the symbols between the two. And hey, what do you guys think? Which is such a typical internet move. And then my brother writes, anyone else feel like Tyrion had the sad look of, hey, you said you don't like short heroes when he saw Jon enter Dany just I love my brother for that. Likes to poke that in there. And then the last but not least here, let me see if I get this one up here. Is it here anywhere? I think I missed it. Oh well. But yeah, fantastic overall. Thank you everybody for the comments. Hopefully we got through as many as we could. And if you guys are interested, we can always do another episode. Feel free to send your comments our way. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we sign off?
I hope they didn't do a one full epilogue episode where we see everybody's babies grown up.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
you
You
know,
don't
that would
want
be
that to
boring.
happen?
No.
Westeros babies. Maybe it's a cartoon. It's a spin-off.
Yeah, maybe. Unless the whole reset button thing happens that I
Yeah.
said. That would be interesting to see everybody as the old people all of a sudden. But yeah, 6 episodes, man.
Yeah. You know, I'd be interested if you, speaking of reset button, I'd almost like to see that very beginning, right? When the first men showed up to the island, to Westeros, and the children of the forest had to fend them off, and then they make, you know, that season ends with them, or that series ends with them making the Night King, and then it leads into where we are now. Zach, any final thoughts?
I just want to be sad again. That's all I want.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I wish there was more. I like the tension, but I wish there was more heartbreak. We saw plenty of fantastic heartbreak, and that's kind of what made the show so well. But we're in fan fiction territory now because they only have 2 seasons left, or now 1 season left. They only had 2 seasons though. So it's like they took George R. R. Martin's bullet point list they met with him a couple years back. He said, here's the end game, and here's the bullet points. And they took that literally and just made shows out of those bullet points. So with that said, I'll eat all this popcorn. I love the finale. I enjoyed the season as rushed as it was. Not my favorite season, but I think there were some great moments in there. You can find us at sidequesting.com. Please rate and review us on iTunes and Stitcher, Google Play, SideQuest podcast. We might call this one a random battle just because it's so focused on Game of Thrones, the ThronesCast. You can find us individually. I'm at Dolly Domofsky on Twitter and Twitch and everywhere else. Zach, where can we find you?
I'm at OK Quest, just a college student, so don't expect anything.
Just a college student, a good college student, good boy, a good lad. And Wout, where can we find you?
On Twitter at the #Anist. That's pretty much where I do most of my shenanigans.
You had a great. Both you guys have had some fantastic articles up recently. Zach, you had a great, the great review, and Wout, you had the cool interview with the team behind. Some of the members behind Buzz. That was really cool. So, you can find us everywhere you look. We'll be in the shadows like the Night King and like White Walkers and like Arya, more than likely. Take care, everybody. We love you. See you on maybe another episode of this or next season. Who knows? Love you. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.